Go completely right back into it, Dave. We're go from UFC right to boxing. Eric Raskin's US Bets Showtime awesome boxing podcast that we'll talk about here in just 1 second. But Eric, welcome to BVB. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
We're great.
To see you.
Where are you?
I apologize for not coming down and seeing you last night at Al's show. I fell asleep. I did the shows and I fell asleep. I'm old, but we're going to meet for lunch or at the weigh-in or for coffee tomorrow morning. We got to get that out of the way for sure. You're in our town, so we got to meet up. What's the vibe down there, E? What's going on? I mean, you came, you did the podcast, talk about that, but like, what's the vibe? You're in the tent, the media tent. It's a big fight, is it not?
It is indeed. People are pumped here, and it's the most that I can think of a big fight in terms of everyone we're talking to on Radio Row here, everyone who's coming on the Showtime Boxing podcast with us. Not a single person is having an easy time making a pick on this fight. And you can see it from the betting odds. I mean, before the fight got signed, one of the sports books had it minus 112, minus 112, which you never see in boxing. And even now, you know, what are the latest numbers? Something like minus 150, minus 160 in favor of Crawford.
Minus 150 and coming down. It's
coming back down. Okay.
Minus 135, 145 in a couple places.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's reflective of the experts' attitude on this fight, is that nobody feels comfortable committing to one fighter or the other on picking this fight, which there's always a favorite in boxing. There's always someone who is at least 2-1, even in the biggest fights, it seems, but not this one. This truly is one of those rare matchups between the two best guys in the division. Just about the two best guys pound for pound, probably two of the top 3 or 4. And everyone's split on it. Nobody's making a pick. We always try to finish our interviews by saying, "All right, so what's your pick? Who you going with?" Oh no, I'm not doing that.
Eric, Spence and Crawford both are. If you're a boxing fight fan, you know them, you've watched them, you love them. But in the building, this is going to be different because normally when Canelo was fighting here in Vegas, it's 99.9% all Mexican fight fans all pulling for Canelo. What's the vibe going to be like tomorrow night at T-Mobile Arena during the ring walk for these two guys? Who brings more fans? Because I know Omaha people are coming for Terrence Crawford to support Bud. I'm assuming Spence is bringing people too. I watched the arrival at MGM Grand on Tuesday. There were a lot of people there for him. What's the crowd going to be like? Who's pulling for who?
That's a great question, because Omaha does tend to travel for the big Terrence Crawford fights. Dallas travels for the big Errol Spence fights. I don't know if you guys got a chance to check out the rather feisty official final press conference yesterday, but the friends and family of each fighter were getting involved in the press conference, and particularly the crosstalk between Bud Crawford and some of Errol Spence's friends and family was getting a little out of control. So they're here, they're representing what the numbers are going to be like in terms of how many are coming to support each guy. I'm not sure. The other interesting thing here, I guess, is that this is such a fight fans fight for the hardcores. You know, it's not so much like the last huge fight we had out here in April, Gervonta Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia. Those were guys.
Oh, he froze up for a second. Stay with us, E.
See if it resets.
See if it resets.
Lose you? Oh, there we go.
There you go. Okay, you're back.
Okay.
Yep.
For the Davis Garcia fight, it was Tank Davis fans and Ryan Garcia fans, and there were a ton of both. This, I think you're going to see some Terrence Crawford fans. You're going to see some Errol Spence fans, but you're also going to see just a lot of those people who love boxing and are excited about this fight and are here to see a great fight. A lot of the people, again, that we talk to are like rooting for a close, controversial decision or a draw, which you don't usually want that to be the case, but they want a great close fight so they get a rematch. So I imagine the crowd will be kind of in 3 parts: hardcores for Crawford, hardcores for Spence, and people who are just there to see a great fight.
All right, Eric, the total is 10.5. The over is minus 260, 270. It's going up. Everybody is betting this like it's going the distance. What do you expect as far as that goes? Would you be totally surprised, shocked to see it not go to the distance? And if so, which guy has the advantage of maybe knocking the other guy out?
So I wouldn't be shocked by any outcome here, other than maybe an early knockout would shock me. I don't really see that as particularly likely. But once we get to the mid to late rounds, absolutely either of these guys could stop each other. But those prices on the over-under 10.5 rounds make total sense to me. The logic dictates more likely this is going the distance. than ending early. If someone is going to end it early, I know a lot of people talk about Spence as the bigger guy. And so they kind of lean toward, if someone's going to knock the other one out, that it's Errol Spence stopping Terrence Crawford. I always think that people overrate the importance of size in a fight. I think they're close enough in size that that's really a non-factor. And I just think Terrence Crawford has such a versatile offense. He can hit you more with that punch that you don't see coming, because he's switching stances. He's going southpaw. He's going orthodox. He's dangerous with either hand. He can get you with a random uppercut you don't see coming, or it looks like he's loading up for the uppercut, but no, it turns out it's an overhand punch that you weren't ready for. I kind of lean toward, if one guy is going to get the stoppage, that it's Terrence Crawford pulling something out. Like, he stopped Sean Porter late. I think that was KO 11 that he broke through and then knocked Porter out. I could possibly see a scenario like that. I guess, though, if I'm going to go devil's advocate and tell you why Spence is going to knock Crawford out, I'll say it has to do with body shots. Spence is a great body puncher. Always a possibility that he's going to hurt him with something down to the ribs or something, down and get him in the liver and totally turn the fight with a body shot.
39-0 versus 28-0. So someone's O's got to go here, and we're going to unify the belts here in the class. If Crawford does win, because I'm leaning that way as well, he goes to 40-0. He's left Top Rank. This fight was made because he left Top Rank. Where does he go next? What do you see for the future for Terrence Crawford if he wins this with a 40-0 record? Because he could still make money, because the public is still finding out about the guy. He's 35 years old, but they still don't know who Bud Crawford really is.
Yeah, well, one thing that everyone is talking about is the rematch clause, that whoever loses has the right to invoke a rematch clause here. So it'll depend. If Crawford wins, how close is it? How willing would Spence be to try to make 147 again? Because he's been talking a lot about how this could be his last fight at 147. He may want to move up to 154. So that's always an option. If it's a good, close fight, the most money for Terrence Crawford is going to be in running it back and doing it again. But let's say he stops Spence, or let's say Spence, for whatever reason, doesn't want the rematch, wants to move on. I wonder if maybe Crawford can get into that situation that Marvin Hagler was in the 80s at 160 pounds, waiting for all the welterweight and junior middleweight stars to come up to him. Mm-hmm. He sat there, he stayed there, he waited. Kearns came to him, Duran came to him, Leonard came to him. There are so many big stars in that 135, 140 area. Could a Teofimo Lopez be a future opponent for Terrence Crawford? Could, I don't know if Gervonta Davis can carry all the way up to welterweight, but maybe in a couple years, that's a huge fight. Ryan Garcia. There are a lot of stars in those weight classes just below where Terrence Crawford is now, because if Crawford wins this fight, he will have more or less cleaned out welterweight of the top guys that are there right now. I mean, we just interviewed Keith Thurman, good veteran fighter, would make a quality opponent for Terrence Crawford, but I'm not sure if that moves the needle quite as much as one of those stars from 140 or 135 eventually making their way up.
Dave, hold on, Dave. My old producer just walked past Eric. Mike just walked past.
Oh, that's okay.
He's over his right shoulder right now. That's so awesome. I worked with him for years. That's crazy to see him right over his shoulder. That's awesome.
Last one for me, sir. Before Matt, if you have one more, hit him with it. But we got the boxing stuff out of the way. The Phillies are playing the Pirates today and this weekend, and the Phillies are coming on. I know you're a Philly guy. Mm-hmm. Phillies sweeping the Pirates this weekend, and the Phillies making the playoffs. Are you back in with the baseball after last season?
Well, listen, I never got out of the baseball after last season. I'll tell you, I had one of the great live sports experiences of my life. Almost like if it filled out the top 10, 8 of them are boxing, great boxing matches that I've been to. One of them was my attending as my high school basketball team my senior year, won the district championship on a last-second buzzer beater. The 10th one is I got to take my son to Game 4 of Phillies Padres last year, where the Padres went up 4-0 in the top of the first. Phillies tied it in the bottom of the first. Home runs left and right, 2 homers from Rhys Hoskins. Just an unbelievable experience to be at that game and to share it with my son. So listen, I'm not jumping off this Phillies bandwagon anytime soon. And they got off to a slow start this year. They're coming on now. Do they make the playoffs? I kind of think so. I don't think that. I think they got to finish ahead of a team like the Marlins, right? The Marlins were overachieving. They're still in the minus on the in terms of runs scored and runs against.
Yes.
It's pretty tightly bunched for those last wild card spots. But I'm looking forward to getting in as a wild card again and having one of those best of 3 series and see what happens. And will they sweep the Pirates this weekend? I haven't looked at the pitching matchup. I don't want to say anything. I'll be happy if they take 2 of 3. And actually, Dave, I got to go to the Pirates Stadium for the first time.
Oh no, he was going to give a glowing review.
He started talking about the Pirates, and so the world froze.
That's not right. That's not right. No, he probably got a notification or something. He was going to say glowing reviews of PNC Park.
I wanted him to promote the podcast. I think he's frozen.
There he is.
Sorry. blame the media room, radio room Wi-Fi here. But yeah. So I was saying I got to go to a home Pirates game. Beautiful park, hell of a park.
Excellent.
For those people who want to listen, Eric, to what you guys are putting out for the Showtime Boxing Podcast covering this fight, where can they find it? What will they hear coming up in the next couple of hours?
So it's called Showtime Boxing with Raskin and Mulvaney. We're normally just a weekly Monday morning podcast, but during fight week, we put one up yesterday, one up this morning, another one later. It's just a mix of my co-host Kieran Mulvaney and I reacting to everything we're seeing here and sitting down and interviewing all the special guests that they're bringing us. So we're having a great time. We'll do a little wrap up after the weigh-in today and get another podcast up tonight. So having a great time out here and trying our best to stay cool.
Enjoy that. Eric, thank you for coming on, man. Really appreciate your time.
Eric.
Enjoy the fight.
Thanks, guys. Great talking
to you later.
Eric Raskin from US